The following program contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800 presents Passion with sex therapist Dr. Laurie Betito. To reach Dr. Laurie, call 514-790-0991. Star Talk, a free call on Bell Mobility. And 800-491-CJAD. Now, here's Dr. Laurie.
Welcome to Passion, a show all about love, sex, and relationships. I'm Dr. Laurie Betito, clinical psychologist, also a sex therapist. And we're here Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 p.m., talking about all kinds of stuff. And sometimes we have special features, regular features. We're starting a brand new one tonight called Dating Dilemmas. What I've noticed is there are an awful lot of single people out there. I get emails probably on a daily basis from somebody who's single, somebody who wants a little bit of advice on what to do. So, you know what? We'll talk about this, and you are always welcome to call in, especially if you're single and you have something to offer. You want to talk to us about meeting people, how to be successful, how to understand the genders, how to pick up, whatever it is that you want to talk about that has to do with being single. Tonight is the night. And I am joined by Frank Kermit. He's a dating coach of franktalks.com. He's the author of several books on the subject. He's going to be our regular guest here every month on Dating Dilemmas. I love the name, Dating Dilemmas, because sometimes it is a dilemma. We want to help you, you know, what do you say? What would be the word?
Undilemma yourself.
Undilemma yourself. Yeah, that's really good English for two educated people. Okay, never mind. 514-790-0991. You can text your message at 514-800. And coming up after 10:30, we'll be talking to Amika Bronson, who is one of the judges on Keys to the VIP. Now, I have to say I haven't personally watched it. Heard all about it. Heard a lot about it. Sounds fascinating. A lot of people may have an issue with this show, but that's okay. You'll be able to talk about it. I want to find out a little bit more because it really has a lot to do with dating and I guess singlehood and the bar scene and all of that. So we'll address that. So Frank is here. Like I told you, he's written many books on this subject, and maybe tonight we can focus on people really want to know, where do they meet? How do they meet? How do I begin? It seems to be the question or the problem most people have, which is like, you know, where are all the good men? Where are all the good women? I don't meet anybody. I hardly date at all.
I think the issue isn't just where can people meet a good single. It's the quality of people that they want to meet.
Yeah, that's true.
The fact is that wherever you're going to find people, you're going to find single people. Being single is a status when it comes to relationships. So in any group of people, there's going to be people who are in relationships, and there's going to be people who are single, and maybe you'll have people who are in relationships wishing they were single.
Yeah, that's true,
and just looking for another opportunity. What I normally suggest to people is to go down one of two paths. First, figure out what you like. What are some things that interest you? And then get active in those things. If there's a particular class you've always wanted to take that class. If you are, let's say, a very active person and maybe you're an adventurous person, you want to try bungee jumping, go bungee jumps. Don't wait until your 50th birthday, 40th birthday.
And have a bucket list. No, and now I got to do that.
There you go.
Right.
You want to go and do it now, because the people that you're going to meet might also be single, and that's how you start connecting.
I think what's important, though, Frank, in all of this is that a lot of people, when you ask them, and I've done this, I've asked them, okay, so what do you like to do? Sometimes they've got nothing. They've got nothing. Like I don't know, what interests you? I don't know. You know, they're so busy working and with the busyness of life that they really haven't taken stock of me. Think about me. Like, what is it? What do you want? You know, what is it that you might like? Because sometimes they don't have too many extracurricular interests or hobbies or things like that.
Well, if that's the case, you shouldn't be looking to try and get to know someone else. Take the time to get to know yourself.
Bingo.
Because if you're going to end up in a relationship with someone else and you have no clue who you are and what you like and what your own base life philosophies are? Do you have rules for relationships you want to get into so that you end up in the type of relationship that is fulfilling for you? Do you know what those are? Because if you don't, that's what you got to get to know. You got to get to know you. Then you can get to know other people.
But also, it's not just getting to know yourself. It's also creating a life, that makes you interesting. Like if you do nothing, if all you do is go to work and come home and watch TV and you have no other interests, does that make you an exciting person? Aren't we also looking for people who have passion? Like, isn't that an attractive quality?
Depends on the person. Now, if you want to be attractive to a larger number of people, that's when you need the passion. That's when you need to be interesting. That's when you have to have a very fulfilling and active life. However, sometimes that may scare someone because the person themselves may be very timid. Maybe all they want is a home body. Yeah, and they don't want someone who's active and outgoing and so on because they're afraid to be left by that person.
Okay.
So that's why if your thing is to just go home, watch television, I would look at that and say, fine. So you need someone who wants the same things you want.
So who's not particularly sociable, who, is a homebody, who doesn't really have that many interests either.
Exactly. And what I would suggest for a person like that, start with your friends and family and say, hey, do you know anybody who's more of a quiet, reserved type of person? Because two people who are very reserved are going to have a hard time meeting through anything else other than a personal introduction.
That's right. When you think about it, those reserved people, they're not going out and joining clubs and going partying and doing all kinds of social things in order to meet people. And that's a very good point.
And if they're really reserved, forcing them to adopt behaviors that make them feel uncomfortable, they're not going to be a proper relationship partner for anybody they meet in those particular social circles.
Right.
So if you're a really reserved person and you want to meet another person who's reserved, the only way you're going to go about that is finding personal introductions through friends and family.
I have a little story about that, which is very interesting. I was talking to a friend when she met her husband, little did she know, but he was kind of putting on an act of, she's very, very social and loves to be around people and what have you, and he was kind of going along with it. But once they got married, the truth really came out. He hated being out in social situations. He hated to travel. He hated to do all of those things. And she realized, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. He wanted to stay in his little cave and stay home and kind of, and she needed, it was vital for her to get out there and be with people and interact and have people over. She couldn't have people over. They never went out as couples. She was missing out on something that was so important to her that she valued. And she ended up not having much of a social life, outside of that marriage. But she didn't know it at first, which is very interesting. She didn't pick up on it.
I find that really unfortunate just because this woman was deceived. And it's not right to be deceived. One of my own personal base life philosophies is everyone has the right to find their soulmate without interference. And if you're lying to someone just so that they won't leave you, you're interfering with that person's right to find a soulmate.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to that woman because I hear both men and women have the same issue. When they're dating, everything is fun, everything is wonderful, everything is loving, everything is exciting.
Perfect.
Until reality steps in and says, well, no, I'm not really into that.
Right.
And this is why you got to make sure to test the person that you're with. And not in a very antagonistic way, but both men and women need to test one another to make sure that the person that they're going to marry, if a long-term commitment is in order, is actually worth it. Figure out what kind of life you want, and on your first couple of dates, if you see that it's heading in that type of serious direction, you got to start saying, look, down the road, this is what I'm into. Are you into it or not?
We'll talk about what that testing situation might look like. 514-790-0991. You're listening to Dating Dilemmas, our new monthly feature just for singles. Would love to hear from single people and some of your own dilemmas right here. 514-790-0991. You're listening to Passion on CJAD 800.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
You're listening to Dating Dilemmas, a monthly feature here on Passion where we focus on dating and being single and some of the dilemmas out there. After 10:30, we'll talk with Amika Bronson, who is a judge on Keys to the VIP. I don't know if you never saw it. It's very interesting. You'll hear all about it. That's coming up after 10:30. I'm joined by Frank Kermit of franktalks.com. He's a dating coach. He's the author of several books on the subject. And by the way, before I forget, Frank has a school called Frank Talks School. He's got relationship classes for men, for women, for couples. So if you are interested, they just have to go to your website, right?
That's right. Go to the website, look for the button that says school, and you'll see the 3 different classes I offer.
Okay, great. People can sign up. Very reasonable prices, rates, something you can do. Great place to even meet and network with people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the information, by the way, is up on the Passion webpage as well, so you can have a look there at cjad.com. So we're talking about where, how, what, when, in terms of meeting, and what are some of the difficulty. And one of the things we were talking about was get to know thyself, more importantly than anything else, and get to know what it is that you're looking for,
That's
or what
right.
you want.
That's right. Start off by thinking of all the different people you would have liked to date. There were some common elements, whether they be personality traits or interests. If you find that, in the last 5 people you wanted to date that turned you down, that they all had something in common, get into that common element. If all the people that you wanted to date love traveling, take a vacation. If all the people that you wanted to date all loved to dance, take some dance classes. Obviously, there's something about a person who's interested in those things that attracts you.
Right.
So embody those things into your life. That's actually one of the things that I did.
For yourself, you mean?
For myself, I looked at a number of the girls that I was interested in, and I found one of the common things was that at some point they had all read some books about Wicca. And I never had a personal interest in Wicca myself, but I figured, okay, last 5 girls that I've actually gone out on a date with and things still didn't work out, I still like them. What did they all have in common? Well, at some point they all read Wicca. Okay,
Were
so
they all just strange girls, Frank? Was that it? I'm just kidding.
Shame on you, shame on you.
I'm just kidding. All right, I'm going to give you a situation, and you tell me, because I understand you can decide what you want, but at some point, you got to know what you're offering to. So I know this guy, and he really has very little to offer. Nice person, but, in his 40s, late 40s, really has never... No real steady job, working, but no real steady job, in debt, nothing... No pot to what in. Really not much. Not the greatest looking person, but yet, and has hardly ever dated. Has hardly ever had, I don't know if he's even had a girlfriend in the last, I don't know how many years. And I think one of the problems is he's looking for, the perfect 10. And the perfect 10, sorry, bud, but she may not go for you. You're looking for the, beautiful, intelligent, educated, and you're not offering any of those things. So how, at some point, we have to adjust our expectations, I don't want to be cruel or anything, and I can't even say that to him. I'd feel bad being able to say that to him, but, try to say it in kind of a nice way. Or why don't you try, like...
Why don't you lower your standards?
Well, it's really what I want to say, but maybe your standards are too high. Maybe that's,
Okay, well, when I encounter guys and women who have this unrealistic, waiting for the princess, the Prince Charming, it's one of two things. The first thing is, if their standards are so unrealistic that it keeps them out of relationships, it isn't the standards they're looking for, it's to stay out of relationships. That's what they want to stay out of.
There's really an unconscious... I don't even think they'd be aware of that.
Sometimes they're not. It could be a real deep fear of intimacy, where they associate so much pain with being in a relationship or even dating or hoping. Sometimes they're just afraid to fail.
I think there's a fear. To me, I think like this particular person I'm thinking of, there is a fear. There's some fear. As much as he says he wants, I really think that there's... a fear there. But we can talk about situations like this, because I'm sure you've encountered them more than I have. This is just one little story. 514-790-0991. You are welcome to join this conversation. Yes, Frank and I are talking, and you too can join in and tell us what some of your thoughts are. What have been some of your dating dilemmas? What's the best place? Where's the best place to meet somebody that you have found? You give us some of your ideas and share them with the rest of the world here. You're listening to Dating Dilemmas on Passion on CJAD 800.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Bettito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Tonight it's all about dating dilemmas, our new monthly feature here with Frank Kermit of franktalks.com. He's a dating coach and the author of several books on the subject. Also, has done a lot of seduction stuff in the past. He's moved on from there, but whatever. franktalks.com if you want to look up some of his classes that are available for guys looking, for women looking, and to help you be more successful. Coming up after 10:30, we'll also talk about keys to the VIP show. We'll talk to one of the judges on there and find out what that's all about. So we were talking about this guy whose expectations are just too high, and one of the theories that you had, and which I agree with actually, is that maybe underlying all of that, he sets them up so high because of some deep fear of really connecting, or a fear of that intimacy, or a fear of failure, or maybe just a fear of rejection. But if the fear, that's the thing maybe that one doesn't make sense, because if he sets his standards so high, he's going to get rejected by those women.
No, not at all. If he sets the standards so high, he never puts himself into a position where he could get rejected, because no woman's good enough for him.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true, too. Right.
Well, I've dealt with guys like this, and when we talk about, okay, well, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for, and he starts listing a bunch of characteristics. Well, I actually know somebody who fits that bill. He'll find every reason not to. Why? Because if he tries and it doesn't work out, whether he has to see himself as always succeeding, it's a lot easier for people to hold on to these fantasies, to hide behind the veil, because reality can be cold.
It's also lonely. It's also lonely behind that veil for a lot of these individuals whose standards are so high that they can never get anybody.
But they'll never understand the depth of their own loneliness because they have nothing else to compare it to. Think about it. If all you've ever known is absolute loneliness, and you've never even experienced any sort of loving intimacy, any real connection, you don't know what you're missing. So if you don't know what you're missing, you're pretty comfortable with the misery you have.
Although you look around you and, you see your friends who are coupled up, and you see your friends in loving relationships, and down at some level say, well, I wish I had that.
Sure, I think everybody is going to, in that position, at some point is going to say, well, why don't I have that?
Right.
But they're also watching their friends getting separated, getting divorced.
Right.
They're seeing their friends during unhappy moments, and that's what they focus on. Look at every relationship out there, every pair of people out there, they go through their hard times. It's not always going to be happily ever after.
Right.
And when someone who's already afraid to get into relationships notices the rough times that people go through,
That's what they focus on.
Exactly.
Right. Dating dilemmas tonight on Passion. Coming up, we'll talk about keys to the VIP. Right here on Passion on CJAD 800.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Bettito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Tonight on Passion, it's dating dilemmas. Once a month, we will start doing that, focus on the world of dating. It's amazing how many single people there are out there. I don't even have the exact figure, but millions of people who are single. I think there may even be more single people than paired off people at this point. If you take in, and not just single, never marrieds, but you've got divorced, divorced later in life, the young divorced, the widowed. There's a lot of people looking for love, whether it's first time love or love again. So I think this responds to certain needs. And I know that, I get emails all the time. You get emails all the time from people who are in a bit of a dilemma. They don't really know exactly what they're doing wrong, or, and I hear that a lot, and that's it's sad and frustrating, right? It's like you said, how come I can't find anybody? What's wrong with me? I was just having a conversation with a woman, beautiful woman, smart, independent. I mean, certainly doesn't need a guy, wants to be in a relationship. It's not about need. And, she's in her 30s. And it's difficult. It is very difficult for her to find somebody of quality that sticks. Why is that? And I know a few women like that. Gorgeous, successful, independent, but no luck. And I know it's not about luck, but this is what they're saying. Why is that happening?
At one time, there were social norms in place that let people know how to behave, what to do, what not to do. And as long as everybody followed these social norms, you had a lot of encouragement from your local society that helped people pair off. Those social norms have been removed. Now everybody has incredible freedom. Here's the catch. With incredible freedom and not knowing what to do with it, can lead to a misery that is so great, it's worse than being in a system of oppression with these social norms.
There's got to be a middle ground, Frank. There's got to be, right? I mean, we don't want to go back there. Women don't want to go back there.
Absolutely not. We don't want to go back to the point where you're told what to want. But I think that we have to replace those social norms with a different set of social norms that says, let's educate you with what to do with your freedom of choice. Let's teach you how to negotiate in a relationship so you can both get what you need. I
think, Frank, a lot of what has happened is that women have evolved a lot, right? In our society, there's been huge changes for women, but I don't think the guys have caught up in the same way. I think that there's still a problem. I think men are a little bit confused, frankly.
Well, whereas women were able to evolve with their gender roles and include a whole new list of things that they can do, men haven't been able to evolve their gender roles. So they're told they can only do what they've always done and maybe even try to become more feminine. Now, this works great on paper. The women become more masculine, the men become more feminine. Great on paper. In real life, it kills attraction. How many women do you know want to be with a man who's more feminine than they are?
Okay, that's going a little... You're right. I mean, that doesn't really work. But women are asking for a little more of the things that are, typically seen as more feminine. Give me appreciation, give me empathy, pay attention, like all the things that men have that, generally a harder time with than they do. They're expecting them to be more like them. And that, I think that creates a little bit of a problem.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of men also need to look at their gender role and find something that they're comfortable with while still retaining their own sense of masculinity.
Right.
Because the fact is, a man who's way too feminine, or maybe feminine to the point where his masculinity suffers, is going to turn some women off.
Right. It's interesting because, I'll tell you that story another time. I'm not even sure it's so appropriate. But anyway, let's talk to Amika Bronson, who's on the line with us. He's one of the judges on Keys to the VIP, talking about singlehood. This typifies something, I'm sure. Hi, Amika. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
Sorry about the tardiness.
That's okay.
Better late than never, huh?
Yeah, better late than never. You were busy in the VIP lounge or what?
Or cleaning up after it.
Right. Tell us, I want to hear a little bit about this show, Keys to the VIP. Tell me what the whole premise is. How did the whole idea come to be?
Well, Keys to the VIP was almost a world strongman competition for quote-unquote players. It was an environment where guys can come out and basically walk the walk. There's a subculture that exists out there with guys who claim to be more skilled than others, and we provided a forum for them to come out and basically display their abilities.
Strut their stuff somehow.
Exactly. It's 3 rounds, and in each round the guys are asked to overcome certain challenges or obstacles, and the guy that can, win more rounds than the other wins the VIP experience.
Tell us what some of these challenges are, Amika.
Well, some of them were actually created by the judges because they were challenges that we issued to each other in our heyday when we played the game. For example, approaching a woman and mentioning to her at some point that you've been recently paroled. And making sure that she doesn't run away from the situation. That's a classic example of recovery.
Okay.
Giving yourself the ability or the challenge of overcoming a challenge in itself is something someone would do if they really believe in their own abilities.
Right.
So we had speed seduction as well. Get a girl's number within a minute. Some of them are escaping me now. The funniest one. A guy would go out, approach a woman, and we would send in a female to pretend that she is her girlfriend.
Okay.
Or that she is his girlfriend.
Right.
In order to create the obstacle of overcoming that and staying centered and focused and not being distracted. There's all sorts of them.
And
It was a lot of fun.
And pick up somebody while your girlfriend's standing there?
Our actress is standing there, but yeah.
Well, the actress, right.
Appear like the girlfriend.
Right.
So you can imagine how difficult it is for some guys to handle that, and more skilled ones to overcome it.
Right. A competition for players. Wow. Now that's something new. Did you get any controversy around this theme?
Well, actually, one of the reasons why the show is no longer in air at the moment was there was some a little bit of static from the CRTC with regards to some of the ethical aspects of the show. For a select group of people who I believe were who took opposition to the show, there was some picketing going on because they felt that the show was had undertones of misogynism. One of the things that
it's certainly sexist in a way. Can certainly be viewed as sexist. And
well, yeah, I think with a lot of people there's varying opinions. I happen to strongly disagree.
Okay.
With the show, the goal was to focus on the abilities of the men.
Right.
And not necessarily the abilities or lack thereof of the woman.
Okay.
The woman were never criticized in any of the situations. And as well, we also secured releases.
Right.
From every female that had participated in the show.
Right.
I think where to counteract some of the opinions of the CRTC, if we got into the realm of criticizing the woman and gone into slanderous name calling, for example, then I can understand where the CRTC may have, a point in the criticism of the show. But we made it very clear, the production and the network, to make sure that the women were never even discussed. It was the main focus was the men and the guys who signed to participate in the show. Right. But like I said, the fact that a woman's getting her number acquired in a game, for some women, that was very sensitive. Maybe those who've been jilted in the past by a guy who's gotten their number in a club. I don't know.
Right.
It's all speculation at that point. But I thought we did a great job of avoiding controversy. But lo and behold, controversy still existed.
You'll always find groups. And look, if you look, there's so many shows like, not this particular premise, but there are shows, there's some dating shows where they, send guys out and, judge them on their pickup techniques or dating or however, or their conversations. And there's so many, this is it. This is what people are interested in right now. It doesn't.
Exactly. I find The Bachelorette to be more controversial than the VIP.
I think so too. Yeah. This is what people like. Is it realistic? It's entertaining. I think it's entertaining. If people take this too seriously, I think there may be a little bit of a problem with that. You're not showing people this is what you need to do to pick up people. And this is a competition for people, for guys who, frankly, I think are a bit narcissistic. Hey, look at me, look what I can do.
Absolutely. I think at the premise of it is number one, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And if there's certain things you take from it that, educate you, then so be it. But I think the number one, CTV's purpose for putting the show on air was to entertain people. So you always want to take what you see on TV with a
grain of salt, of course. It's television. Television is television. We should all know that. Amika, thank you very much. And you know what? I'd love to touch base with you again soon on another one of our Dating Dilemma shows, because you've got lots of other things going on on your plate that we'd love to pick your brain about. So we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for letting me call in and talk about the show. For all those people out there, Frank knows me. Frank's a great guy. He's very knowledgeable. And,
yes, he is.
He's hooked me up with a lot of great people in this industry. And if any guys have any queries about dating or keys to the VIP itself, they can reach me at bond@casualbond.com.
Okay.
It's a blog I've been running. I'm doing the dating coach thing as well as Frank.
Great.
And it's a quickly growing subculture. So
yes, it is, which is why we're doing this. Thank you so much, Amika. We'll have you on again soon, okay? Have a good night. Bye-bye now. You're listening to the Dating Dilemmas, which is our new feature here on Passion. If you want to call in, 514-790-0991 or text your message at 514-800. I promise we are going to get to your calls right after this.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Bettito on Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800.
A Dating Dilemmas monthly feature with Frank Kermit of franktalks.com. He's a dating coach and the author of several books on the subject. He joins us tonight. You can join us too. If you're single or you have something to say about some of the stuff we're talking about, we'd welcome and love to talk to you, as we are going to talk to Richard. Hi, Richard. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being so patient.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I have a lot of friends who are finding it quite difficult to meet women, and one of their dilemmas is that they don't find a lot of the women out there very feminine.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. I don't really think it's that interesting. I think it's something that's happening a lot in our society where I myself have gone out, someone tried to order something for a date, and she started accusing me of being sexist and this and that. It's got to a point where it's so to the other side now, or holding doors open or things like that. I mean, where are you supposed to stop?
Okay.
What are you supposed to do?
Right. Well, this is the confusion we're talking about. But just for me, Richard, define feminine. Like, what are these guys that your friends that are saying that these women aren't feminine enough? What does that mean?
This is always a question I get to. Well, I don't know. How about I'm sorry, dressing appropriately sometimes?
Well, what do you mean?
Not putting it all out there. How about that?
But that's over feminine, no? Putting it all out there, wouldn't that be considered
I don't find that over feminine. I could use another word for what I see on the street. But
slutty, whatever. Yeah.
And it's just very different today.
But you can't quite put your finger on it, though, can you? In terms of what the feminine that they're looking for is. Is it
we're
needy?
On the radio, and talking amongst men is not exactly what I'd be able to say.
Well, you don't have to swear or anything,
no,
but you can talk openly. It's okay.
It's basically, okay, here's one. A lot of women that I've met don't know how to cook. Now, you could say, oh, well, that's not so feminine. Everybody's know how to cook, but 90% of the guys I know how to cook. A lot of the women that they've been meeting don't know how to cook. They don't know how to...
If you're going to say clean, I'm going to shoot you now.
Well, yeah, that's I clean, I iron, I wash, I do all these things, and it's...
Good for you, and you should do.
Yes, I should, but so should some of the women.
And I beg to differ.
Well, why?
I don't think you're right. That most women don't know how to cook and don't know how to clean, and they live on their own. These women we're talking about, Richard, are women who are successful, independent, live on their own. What? They live in pigsties and don't eat?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. I do get on my high horse on this one.
It's almost like we have to be feminized as men.
That's what Frank was saying.
It's very sad. I mean,
why is that sad though? Why is it about being feminized?
I even speak to my son. My son goes, I don't know what to do anymore. Should I do this? Should I do that?
But do you find, Richard, one second, do you find that the fact that you cook and the fact that you know how to clean a toilet and the fact that you know how to do laundry and iron your clothes, does that mean you have been feminized?
No. Oh, come on. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But I have met women who, I said, well, would you mind not cleaning my toilets, but would you mind making me a nice meal once in a while? Oh, why should I do that? We're liberated today. We don't have to do those things.
I don't know who you're meeting, honestly.
There's a lot of men.
Okay, Frank, let's hear what Frank, because I'm sure you're tired of hearing my female voice. Go, Frank.
Hi, Richard.
Yeah.
I do understand exactly what you're talking about. I have had the experience of opening the door for a woman and being told, you don't have to open the door for me, I can get it myself.
Yeah.
And what I've stopped doing is that I will not give that type of attention until she does something to earn it.
Like what?
Okay, let's say I meet up with a girl and I'm on a date. Mm-hmm. I won't be the first person to open the door for her unless she says or does something that I acknowledge. I say, I really like the fact you said that. And then I'll open the door for her after that. Or if she does something nice for me. If I try to hold her hand at an appropriate time and she pulls away and says, no, I don't need your help as I'm stepping off these rocks. Let's say we're at the shore. Mm-hmm. I'll stretch out my hand. She says, no, that's fine. I'll just look at her and I will voice the fact that I'll just say, I would have stretched out my hand for anybody on the rocks, and you're turning that away. I get you want to be independent. I guess you don't want to be with me. Because a relationship is about a codependency. It's just missing some of the appreciation for the fact that someone is being thoughtful.
Right.
What I've also found is that I'll meet women and say, oh wow, I'm so happy I met you. You're very masculine. I mean, I don't, tell them what to do, but, they're very happy in how I, do certain things. And then after a while, it turns into, oh, you're a chauvinist.
It depends on your approach.
Pardon me?
I guess it would depend on your approach. If you make all the decisions or you have expectations of her behavior.
They're not expectations.
Okay.
I feel it's what society has placed on women.
So we've gone too far. What you're saying is
which I feel very, very sad about, because I feel there's great expectations on women today to act a certain way, to
do
be
everything,
independent, and not have, that little femininity that's quite nice. I mean, I write poetry.
That's very nice.
I do all kinds of things. But women have lost that side to them. They're almost like the guys, archaic guys from the past. It's gone total reverse.
Yeah, and I guess this is what's frustrating for a whole lot of men. Thank you, Richard, for taking it from me there. Yeah. Did he just hang up on me? Did he just give that to me? No. We'll come back with Frank, and Frank Talks right here for our dating dilemma discussion feature. I'm telling you, this kind of, it is difficult. These are sensitive issues for a lot of people, and the more I talk to men, the more I realize, my God, they are confused. Like, they just don't know. And women, too, are, in a sense, confused. They don't want to need, but on the other hand, the guys, feel they want to be needed to some degree, a little bit. But we could talk about that coming up. You're listening to Passion on CJAD 800.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Bettito on Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800.
Yes, I can see you. 'Cause every girl here wanna be.
Dating dilemmas here on Passion. You're welcome to call in 514-790-0991 or text a question or a comment at 514-800. If you're calling from Bell Mobility cell phone at Star Talk, star 8255. Joining me, as he will every month, is Frank Kermit. He's a dating coach, and he's got a website, franktalks.com, with all kinds of stuff going on there, including classes, by the way, for singles, for men, for women, and classes for couples as well. One of the things that Richard's call was very interesting, because it really talked about expectations and being confused as to what it is, and femininity and masculinity and gender roles, and I think he covered just about every aspect of the sexes that we, and some of the real dilemmas that we have in terms of finding each other. Do you think, and I talked about this last night because I did a show on being happily single, and I was talking about, I don't know, the night before, and there was a researcher who had talked about this, that we live in a society now where women, they don't need men. They don't need men. And, they're independent. They don't want to need men. And they've been brought up not to need men. In other words, they've been brought up to say, you be independent, you go get your career, you be self-sufficient, you take care of you, and I think that men, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but I think that men still there's a part that they need to feel needed. I think that's part of masculinity somehow.
Here's how I would define masculinity and femininity. A man will define femininity by anything that makes him feel more masculine. That's why a man is going to want a woman to be the sweet one, the gentle one, the nice one, because it makes him feel more masculine being the brute. This is why a man wants to feel appreciated. So when you look at the way women were brought up, they're told, go out, get your own career, you don't need anybody. I got to tell you something. No man was raised that way.
Right.
Every man was raised, you got to go out there and build an amazing life. Why? So you can have a family, so you can take care of people, so you can take care and provide for your children and your wife. We were never taught, go out there and do this for yourself.
Right.
Women were.
This is the problem, right? I mean, the problem is we've been taught two different things. And so men have been taught to, yes, take care of, provide, do. And women are saying, I don't need you. I don't need you to take care of me. I don't need you to provide for me. I can do this myself. Now where are we? I think this is the biggest dilemma.
In the end, all the theory doesn't matter. People still need people. We are a species that wants to connect with one another.
Do.
And all the theories saying you don't need people, well, actually, you kind of do.
You do. And you know what? We do. I think as a species, we need to be paired. We need to be connected. That is part of being human, whoever you are. Frank, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you again next month for the next Dating Dilemmas.
I look forward to it.
All right, wonderful. I want to thank Louie and Carmen in Master Control. Thank you very much. If you need to connect with me, You can contact me, passion@cjd.com. Don't forget to check out the Passion webpage at cjd.com as well. All the information is there about the Frank Talk School, so you can find out about that and all kinds of other stuff going on. I want to wish you a great rest of the night, and don't forget, life is short, so make sure you do take the time to smell those flowers and maybe indulge your passions.
Passion on CJD 800 with Dr. Laurie Betito.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.